Hello, wait. I still see the title. Let's try that again. 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, hello there. Happy Sunday. Friends, lovers, thank you for joining us. This is 5 Minutes with Robert Nasir.
And Amy Nasir.
May well be 5 minutes. We'll see. We'll see what happens this time. I'm Robert Nasir. I'm joined by Amy Nasir, who is looking good.
Yeah, I'm eyeglassless.
Eyeglassless.
I'm experimenting with contact lenses right now. Long story, but you might be able to see the color of my eyes. If anybody can see that, let me know.
Made up and looking good. Oh, everybody knows Amy's blue eye. Oh, I gave it away. Whoops.
Oh.
Everybody knows Amy's eyes of indeterminate color, but yes. And we need you to join us in the chat. This is one of those days when we are looking forward to talking to you. So if you are in the chat, on the chat, join us. I see Jennifer has already chimed in. Thank you for that, Jennifer. We got lucky. I wasn't sure if Yaron was going to wrap up his Be Curious episode. My first reaction was, I don't swing that way, Yaron. But no, it's his Rules for Life episode. We're going to make that one of our What We're Listening to this week's later this week. Today is Sunday, November 7th, 2021, the 311th day of this your best year yet. We are into November, 54 days left to make this a great year, 47 days until Christmas, and just 358 days until Halloween 2022. So start planning. You know, there's stores that still have Halloween stuff out, and it's half off, or whatever their discount is. Take advantage of that. And on this date, November 7th in 1944, the craziest thing happened. And the strangest thing to me about this crazy thing that happened is it's only ever happened once. And that is that FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, was reelected for a fourth term, not two, not three, but fourth term in office as U.S. President.
What the?
Is that weird or what?
So exactly, I'm forgetting what my history is here, but how did that happen?
It's the craziest thing. We did not have, until Harry S. Truman's administration, we did not have term limits on the president. Oh. The president could be reelected in perpetuity. We could have had a monarch, an emperor. By popular vote.
Wow.
It's a crazy... And you would think with founding fathers as presidents...
Yeah.
You know, John Adams, George Washington, Thomas... That this would have happened before.
With George Washington saying, don't call me king or monarch or anything like that. Call me president.
That's true. George Washington would not run for further terms.
You would think that he would also say... and no president can be elected more than once or twice or whatever, but four times, that's...
Craziest thing. Actually, the craziest part is it had never happened. There hadn't even been a three-term president. And because the Congress under Harry S. Truman then passed the law saying you could only have 2 terms as a president, it's only ever happened once to one guy for 4 terms, which is the little bit that's always a little surprising to me. Not that we all know FDR was in for 4 terms. He destroyed the economy, all that good stuff. Excuse me. I'm sorry, my leftward friends will say he saved the economy, but whatever you think he did to the economy, destroyed it.
He pounced it.
Point is, he was in office for 4 terms. Nobody else has been in office for more than 2 terms before or after. This date in 1944, that election, we just had an election day this week. And all sorts of interesting things happened, which I ignored entirely, but there were some great discussions online. If you want to talk politics, go talk to someone else. I just thought that was interesting. Also, on this date, it's the birth date of Madame Curie. Maria Curie. She started going by Marie when she moved to Paris. She was actually born in Warsaw, Poland, one of our great scientists. And one of the fun things to me about Marie Curie, because so many of us were taught, she discovered radium, she discovered polonium, she discovered all of these interesting properties of radioactive isotopes. We were taught, she died of radiation. She was working on radiation in those early days, and they didn't know how dangerous radioactivity was. That's true, or sort of true, but she actually lived to be 66 years old. Incredible number of discoveries, Nobel Prize winner, one of the few to actually win, I think the only one to actually win 2 Nobel Prizes in the same field. She lived to be 66 years old. She did die of aplastic anemia, type of anemia. Bone marrow stops making red blood cells, and it's assumed that that was because of her work in radiation. But it wasn't like she had a terrible tragedy because of radiation. No, she lived an amazing life. Anybody who went from Warsaw, Poland, to Paris, France, to becoming a Nobel Prize winner, to making all these amazing discoveries, and she was beloved by her fellow scientists. And one of the things we don't always appreciate now in 2021, she was a woman. She was a woman scientist, which is amazing because, I mean, women can be as great scientists as men, but back then, you think anybody made that easy?
No.
So, a great date. Happy birthday to the late Marie Curie. One more birthday to somebody who's still with us. Another hero of rock and roll music, Joni Mitchell.
Ah, yes.
Roberta Joan Mitchell, born on this day, November 7th in 1943. Still with us, 78 years old. And outstanding performer in the rock/fusion. So jazzy, so swingy, so good. We know her pop songs both sides now, and Big Yellow Taxi and Woodstock and Help Me, but my favorite is a song entitled In France, They Kiss on Main Street.
Oh, I'm not actually familiar with that one. I did watch a more recent interview with Joni Mitchell, and she's painting a lot nowadays, and she'd like to have her paintings to be a little bit more well-known. So check them out, I suppose.
It's really hard when you do something as great as writing the kinds of songs that she wrote to then say, oh yeah, but I'm also really good at this other thing. Oh, great, Joni, thank you. Let's play those songs again. So, yeah, I can see why that would be tough. Also, today is, or was, early this morning, the end of daylight savings time for a few months. God, I wish it was the end of daylight savings time like forever. Why on earth? Why is my microphone in the wrong place? Oh, weird. Anyway, sorry about I'm sure it's driving everybody crazy, or actually it's probably just driving me crazy. And now I'm making noise. It wasn't centered.
It wasn't centered. Oh, no.
Well, you remember last week we knocked the camera off center, so nothing was sent. Well, I'd say one of us knocked the camera off center. Sorry about the noise. I'm sure that probably made some noise, which was even worse than just leaving it the way it was. Anyway, yes, it is the end of daylight savings time, and that matters for anybody who is following us on the Ayn Rand Center UK, which we're going to get to in a moment. But first, one more thing. On this date, November 7th, it is National Bittersweet Chocolate with Almonds Day.
Delicious.
That sounds totally legit and not at all made up by the National Confectioners Association of America. But in fact, that was actually made up by the National Confectioners Association of America. Oh. Now, y'all know when it comes to so-called Hallmark holidays, the kind of holidays that would be made up by Hallmark for people to buy more greeting cards and send them out. I'm not skeptical at all. I love this stuff. I'm totally on board. So,
I work in marketing. I love marketing, and I follow marketing, and I like the suggestions. I think they're very helpful. So
that's right. Our marketers love us. This I know, for the commercials tell me so. So it is National Bittersweet Chocolate with Almonds Day. I have two representative samples here. One by the Choco Love Corporation. These are great. When you get into dark chocolate, I know Hershey's and Ghirardelli, they all make dark chocolates too. But when you get into these supposedly much better dark chocolates, there's always interesting stuff on the label. So for example, 90% of the cocoa in this product comes from Rainforest Alliance certified farms. Do you get that? We're saving the rainforest here with the Choco Love branded 70% almonds and sea salt in strong dark chocolate chocolate bar here.
Strong dark chocolate.
Isn't that great? We're saving the world. The other one I've got here, Tony's Chocolonely.
Oh, that's kind of cool looking. I like that.
Yeah. This one actually has a better ingredient list. Belgian fair trade dark chocolate with almonds and sea salt.
It reminds me of the design for Charleston Chew, if anybody remembers that.
I do wonder, though, because similar to the other one, it says cocoa maps. Ingredients here: sugar, cocoa butter, traded in compliance with fair trade standards, total 89%. What I want to know What about the 11% of the ingredients that are not created in compliance with fair trade standards? What
Those
horrible,
are stolen.
brutal, terrible things happened to create
That was,
11% of these.
That was chocolate terrorism going on there, 11%.
I know. It's sad. I'm just imagining the children working in sweatshops to produce the...
Yeah, Scott over on YouTube, he says blood cacao.
Blood cacao, exactly. We all know blood diamonds. Apparently blood cacao is an issue as well. So if you don't mind, and even if you do, I'm going to open this up. Because, I mean, look at this. Look at, this is no Hershey bar here. And you don't get a chocolate bar like this for a couple dollars. This was not cheap. So good stuff. I'm saying that even before trying it. I've never had this brand before. It could be really terrible.
Does it taste like a Charleston chew?
If it tastes like a Charleston chew, I want my money back. Yeah, the package is really outrageous.
How is it?
Okay, it is very good. It is definitely a case against eating Hershey's chocolate. Unfortunately, I have a cup of Starbucks here as well.
Oh, it's
See,
okay.
See, that's good living. Dark chocolate and coffee. National Bittersweet Chocolate with Almonds Day. Held November 7th, sponsored by the National Confectioners Association. So how do they recommend that you celebrate National Bittersweet Chocolate with Almonds Day? Buy a nice big bar of dark chocolate.
Eat it all and then buy another one.
Buy it with a jar of almonds to make your own dipped almonds at home. Give to friends and family. Oh, this is, of course, what a surprise.
Christmas gifts.
Tour a
Christmas
chocolate
is coming.
factory. Actually, they do, and this is fun. This is a national website we're stealing these ideas from. It says Tour a Chocolate Family. You can also hit the theme park next door, the Sanders and Morley Candy Makers Chocolate Factory in Clinton Township, Michigan. Offers a free
Sanders.
tour. Well, that's right down the road from us, if right down the road means 30 miles away. So
Yeah.
that just might be the right thing to do. The funny thing is, or the interesting thing, the cute thing, is that where Amy works, they make
Where
chocolate.
I work.
But she works at
Well-
Greenfield Village at a historical museum. So when we talk about making chocolate, we're not talking about making candy. We're talking about taking cacao and grinding it and making a beverage.
Yeah, and what they used to do back in the 1700s, they didn't even put milk into it. It was water. They basically seeped it kind of like a coffee almost. And they would just grind it and grind it and grind it. I think they would put maybe a little bit of sugar in there. But that's it. You know, back then you didn't have a lot of sugar. That was actually quite expensive. And yeah. Why am I wearing this on my head?
That's what I'm wondering. It matches my cup. You see my latest Dixie cup here. So this seems like a throwback to our St. Patrick's Day show. So yes, the history of chocolate is, it used to be a beverage. And in 1830, J.S. Fry & Sons, a British chocolate maker, devised a way to turn cocoa into a solid bar. 1830. Before 1830, we didn't have chocolate bars. We just had cocoa drinks. 1853, the cocoa terries were lifted, which made chocolate accessible to more than just the upper class. 1920, the Mounds bar was born. Hershey's Mounds bar, made with almonds, cocoa, and dark chocolate. It's the one thing that makes a Mounds bar better than an Almond Joy. I said this before on our podcast because this is important. If any of you have got any pull with Hershey's, I pick on Hershey's chocolate a lot because there's better chocolate out there, but I like Hershey's.
I do too.
If any of you have any pull with the Hershey's company, what we need is an Almond Joy, but with dark chocolate. Or alternately, a Mounds bar, which has dark chocolate, with an almond in it. Why don't they make that?
Yeah, I think that they make Mounds dark chocolate, but
Do
it has
they? Because
no
I've never
almond
seen
in
it.
Okay, I'm going to look it up right
Oh, no,
now.
you're right. Mounds. Yeah, Mounds is
Mounds.
dark chocolate. No, you're right.
How about Almond Joy dark chocolate?
Almond Joy Dark. Is there an Almond Joy Dark out there? I've looked it up before. Maybe you'll find something that I couldn't find.
Nope.
I guess you could just buy one of each and pull the almond out of the Mounds and kind of stuff it into...
Yes.
I mean, pull the... See, I got that backwards. See? You see how much of an issue this is?
Just an almond. Get some bag of almonds and just kind of like...
I don't think
put
an
it on there
almond would taste the
then-
same, though. If it hasn't been sitting in that candied coconut for a
Well-
year on the shelf, it doesn't have the same...
Well, that you just buy a whole bunch of them and you put them into containers and you keep them in a nice, cool, dark place for a year.
Well, what you're describing would undoubtedly be much better, but that defeats the purpose. If it was better, it would be a whole different animal. So yes,
Oui,
the Mounds Bar, born 1920, 1925. The U.S. Cocoa Exchange opens in New York City to facilitate cocoa transactions. And finally, 1938, important year, the government endorsed chocolate by including it in U.S. troop rations. So if you needed a good reason / excuse to eat some more dark chocolate, if you weren't already, and find some with almonds in it, I didn't have to go out and buy these bars because we had the little Ghirardelli squares, 70% dark with almond pieces. Not the same. Go out and get a big butt. I'm trying not to use profanity, but I can't describe it properly. A very large chocolate bar that is dark chocolate with almonds in it. Do that. Join us.
So Scott over on YouTube did say actually this font is, he's like, Willy Wonka wants their font back or something like that.
That font.
This is actually true, but the Charleston Chew, I want to look that up and just see.
That font really is a crime.
I'm comparing fonts, and I'm sure that this font is like...
It's criminal.
They think that it's handmade, but they're probably too young to understand the cultural references of old. So...
Me too.
Old.
Well, when I was young, we
Get off
used to
my
have,
chocolate bar font.
we had this thing called a Charleston Chew, and it wasn't very good, but we didn't have anything any better, so we would eat them.
It's very true.
So since it's bittersweet chocolate with almonds day, I still can't get over that. Obviously, I'm still dwelling on that, but I couldn't resist asking some folks online, what are your bittersweet pleasures or guilty pleasures?
I think we have some on YouTube.
Good, because I want to hear them. Bring it on. We had a few online too, and I will read them, but what have you got in the chat?
Okay.
While I've been jawing.
Let's see. Apparently people appreciate my outward appearance today.
Oh, could I see the wrapper?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
There's the wrapper.
I have a request to look up
and
dietary.
you're right. It is more like Willy Wonka font than the Charleston Chew font. I think it's the white outline that gets
Is that
me
what's
with
getting you, though?
the Charleston Chew. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, but no, I really do like, while I'm looking at this, since I was a kid, I loved Hershey's Special Dark. And it's probably because it had the word special in it.
Well, isn't that special?
And then I would eat it, just like nibble it like a little bird. And I would really enjoy it. And I liked it.
Okay, so Mary Aline wants to know about the carbs per serving. So, the bar that's twice as big has twice as many servings, 6 versus 3. So they're equivalent. They're both 30 grams per serving. And the carbohydrates total, wow, in the green bar, the even more fair trade compliant, it's 15 grams. Half of that serving is carbohydrates.
Okay.
And the majority of that is added sugars. Wow.
Yeah.
And on the other bar, well, it's still 13 grams out of 30.
Okay.
On the other hand, what does that make the other, the rest of it? There's 13 grams of fat, 3 grams of protein. And so yes, between the two, if you were interested in these brands, the Choco Love branded is the better bet, with less carbohydrates, a little more fat, a little more protein. Interesting. Of course, I don't eat this stuff very often, so I don't track it very carefully. But I probably should. So good questions. And yes, go with the darker package. I guess I'll have to open that one up because, I also have to figure out, well, yeah, but which one tastes better?
So
what else we got?
Jose says he likes dark chocolate with black coffee and
Good.
and in chocolate chip cookies. Well, dark chocolate, or at least semi-sweet chocolate, that's what they usually have in cookies.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah, that's making me think I should have got cookies too.
But he says he's a chocolate milkman. He's a chocolate milkman.
Oh, well, that's cool, because we just went out to a dairy farm yesterday and bought fresh chocolate milk.
Yeah, they do use dark chocolate and truffles. Yep. And, Willy Wonka wants their idea back. Jose also says, Jose's really, really he's got a lot of values going on here today. He will celebrate with a panache bread brownie delight cookie. All right. Uh-huh. And then a baby boom occurred once chocolate became widespread. And Jim, Jim over in Facebook says, I've heard that dark chocolate is an aphrodisiac. Does anyone know if that's true? Well, maybe for some. I mean, it's...
Oh, I see. It's a Panache brand Brownie Delight cookie.
I
Okay.
see. Oh, right. Panache brand.
Brownie Delight. Well, I've got to say, the one that's a little bit healthier by contemporary standards isn't quite as good. Although if you like if you like the drier powdery flavor, or not flavor, but feel. If you like the dry powdery flavor and feel, you might like the Choco Love, which does have slightly less carbohydrates, better. But I have to admit, I'm probably going to stick with the Tony's Choco Lonely. This one you will like better.
I vote for Tony's.
Tony's Choco Lonely is the winner.
Tony's Willy Wonka ripoff chocolate.
Willy Wonka ripoff. But again, if you like that powdery feel, it's so much cocoa that it just feels like dust on your tongue, you might go for the Choco Love. So, bittersweet. And he's talking with his mouth full. So rude. The first answer we got in the What's Your Bittersweet Pleasure came from the Art Goddess.
Oh, yeah.
And she's mentioned this before. Linda Cordair said Turkish coffee.
Yeah.
Very, very strong espresso. Probably too strong for me. I like black coffee, but not super strong. But Linda has a much more passionate love relationship with coffee than even I do. Speaking of passion, Nathaniel says cardio. It's a love-hate relationship. I totally get that. The biggest surprise for me, Thomas Bisson. If you don't already follow Thomas Bisson or friend him on Facebook, he's British, and yet he is a workout god. Why would being British make that a and yet kind of thing? I don't know, but it just, somebody with that British accent that just sounds so intelligent and cultured, and yet he's in incredibly great shape. And all that's irrelevant until you hear his suggestion for What's Your Bittersweet Pleasure. Apple crumble and custard, and he writes "and" in capital letters. He wants you to know he means all of this together. Apple crumble and custard and Ben & Jerry's ice cream and chocolate-covered raisins and peanuts and trail mix.
Wait, all of it together?
He's got the word "and" in capital letters, like you're supposed to know these things go together.
Wait, custard and ice cream? It's a little bit too much.
Apple crumble and custard,
that has
and
to be
Ben &
separate.
Jerry's ice cream and chocolate-covered raisins and peanuts and trail mix. A guy who works out the way he does, he can burn off those calories. Man is living large without getting large. Erskine says, Scotch. Okay. Because we talked about bittersweet pleasures. It's got the burn. It's got the, and he points out that, in moderation. Michael Newberry, the artist, says humor. I've thought about doing a whole episode on that. We could do a whole episode on humor. We've talked about it before. When does humor go too far? When are you pushing boundaries? When should you be pushing boundaries? My principle is a joke, if it's going to be edgy or vulgar or over the limits or rude, it has to pay the freight. I can accept humor that's way, way over the top of propriety if it's funny enough. If it's worth going on that journey into those terrible places because it's that funny or that insightful. Yesterday we watched The Closer, the recent Netflix comedy special with Dave Chappelle. And there's a man who pays the freight. He takes you to places other people couldn't get away with going. But he pays the freight. He makes it worth it. There's a reason for those things.
Yeah. So actually, Jennifer of the chat, she actually came over the other day and we watched The Closer with.
Oh, you've outed Jennifer as somebody who watched Dave Chappelle. In today's cancel culture, that could get her in trouble. We'll leave the last name out there.
No, but it was a great. Robert and I had already seen it, but it's always wonderful to see it again. It's actually a very good special, and it has a really good message despite all the uproar. It's a tempest in a teapot, and so anyway, that's that. But I want to get back to Jose's list of things here.
Oh, is he still? He's got more.
Yeah, he has more. He says His guilty pleasure is too many movies and TV shows, not enough reading or writing. That's definitely...
Yeah, I think we all fall into that, especially once you find something worth binge watching.
Yeah,
You know, we've been watching
that's...
Murdoch Mysteries, and there's something like 15 seasons of this thing. And apparently they're still making them, but we're just working our way through them.
And here's some more guilty pleasures: wine and rum, brandy and cognac, and whiskey, and then milk chocolate. Whatever. That's what I get. That's what he has in his cupboard. And then he's like, and I also enjoy reading Nietzsche. Oh dear! Oh my!
Oh yeah, he's got all sorts of them in here, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He also mentions
so
there was a
good.
baby boom once chocolate became widespread. Does that mean it's lulled us into other sins that were responsible for creating a baby boom? Very possible. I always thought it was interesting that Labor Day came 9 months after New Year's Eve, because everybody's in labor 9. And then somebody pointed out to me, you're counting your months wrong. That's 10 months afterward, which kind of ruined the fun for me. But then, you know, not that far off of Valentine's Day either.
Well,
it all works out.
Yeah.
And Jim is on the mark right after Jose says baby boom. Jim says, well, I've heard that really dark chocolate is an aphrodisiac. Does anyone here know if that's true? Well, can anybody answer Jim's question there? Jennifer says, I don't think so. I'm wondering what prompted that answer. Oh my gosh. Well, anyway, there's more in here. I'm having to skip because there's so many good
Pepperidge
comments
Farm
in here.
remembers. Actually, Pepperidge Farm, those cookies, those like, I forget it. It's not the Milano cookies. It's the other ones. It's like the really crunchy, crispy, round cookies with just a tiny layer of chocolate in between, and they're just so good. Pepperidge Farm, they remember.
Pepperidge Farms remembers. Oh, and Jennifer did out herself by saying, I will stick with milk chocolate. That milk was delicious. Yes, she was with us on the trip to the dairy farm and got her own bottle of fresh
So
cow-squeezed chocolate milk. I think they get that from the brown cows.
So listen up, Marilyn. Petya has a recommendation over on Facebook. If you're looking for a gluten-free, paleo, non-GMO, fair, dark trade, anti-terrorist, no, I'm kidding, try Hue, that's H-U, Who Salty Dark.
Who Salty
or
Dark?
hazelnut butter. It's a bit pricey, but I use it as an award for being good. That's lovely.
Who Salty Dark? It sounds like something Rucka Ali would joke about.
Who Salty Dark?
Anyway,
I don't know,
Who
Rob.
Salty Dark?
I don't know what's in
hazelnut butter. Bit pricey, but I use it as a word for being good. I like actually the fact that chocolate bars like this are ridiculously expensive, because not only does it mean you eat them, you enjoy them, but it also helps you do it in moderation. It's one of my diet tips: is buy really, really expensive food, and you're less likely to binge on it. At least it works for me.
What is this, Jim Ashley? A couple of things that sound yucky, but I think are actually good. Peanut butter on a pickle. Oh, interesting.
You know, people will often say, not often, but people will stereotypically say, well, how do you know you don't like it if you never tried it? But I am somebody who is willing to say about many, many things that I've never tried, no thank you.
And also, buttered garlic sourdough bread. Okay, that's good. But with marmalade on it.
With marmalade on it. Buttered garlic marmalade
and I'm
sourdough.
assuming that's orange marmalade you're talking about, so you have an orange kind of
I'm having
garlic.
But I'm having a little easier time imagining that.
Yeah, I can understand
that combination
that a
of
little bit
garlic
better
and sweet, and that
than
slightly bitter that you get with
butter
marmalade.
and pickle.
I can see it. Well, yeah, more so than the peanut butter and pickle.
But thank you for that. We could easily try that on air. You know, if you want us to do a show specifically about eating crazy things that we've never eaten before, but you think that we should try, maybe
Then
we could do
no
an
way.
episode.
Oh, I mean,
do an
yes,
episode on it.
yeah, we would do that. Yeah. Incidentally, Mary Aline does say, I just lost her comment. She did say in regard to who's. Oh, here it is. I will check it out. I eat Who's crackers. Now I'm starting to think this is
a thing.
No. I was thinking it was starting to sound like an Abbott and Costello routine. What do you mean you eat whose crackers do you eat?
Who's crackers?
That's what she said.
Wait, who's crackers?
Who's crackers? Yes.
No. Who's crackers?
Yes. Yes, crackers. Yes, crackers? Whose crackers? And Mary Eileen points out that dark chocolate is good with port.
That's
so that we
nice.
get right back to
Good.
Linda Cordair. So there you
Yes.
go. What
Pork
comes
chops.
around goes around.
You know, pork chops with strawberry jam, and I have also seen, lamb chops with mint jelly, for instance. So I understand that.
Valid.
Oh my gosh, Mary Eileen and Jim's both say peanut butter with pickles. It's delicious.
Uh-oh. When two people say it, that kind of validates it right there. It makes me think there's something wrong with us for not being willing to try it.
It's 5 million Frenchmen.
5 million Frenchmen and 5,000 Frenchmen, whatever it was, can't be wrong. Yeah, well, I don't think two Nasirs can be wrong either. And Scott's in with who's as well. Yes,
Right.
yes. Marius asks, can I send you sweets?
Sure.
You know, Marius, your comments and your contributions are already sweet enough. That's a good question. Should people be sending us things?
Oh, we could have a P.O. box.
We get
Have people send stuff.
Yes. That's right. If you want to send explosives to our show, send them to P.O. Box 422. We're not famous enough to get bombed yet.
No.
I mean, to have bombs sent to us. We are famous enough to get bombed. There's something we haven't done yet.
Yeah.
We have not done a drunk dialing podcast yet.
Drunk dialing. What does this mean?
Well, just drunk podcast.
Oh, right. Like drunken history.
Like drunken history show, that kind of thing.
It takes a lot for me to become really inebriated. It takes a lot of alcohol. I hold it really well. So.
3 shots.
No. I'm still quite...
Okay, who wants to see an episode of 5 Minutes with Robert Nasir?
I don't want alcohol poisoning.
In which Amy has had 3 shots, which she thinks won't do much to her.
3 shots of tequila, and I'll be happy and a little bit more bubbly. But
A little bit, huh?
That's it.
Oh, this is going to be good. And the holidays are coming up. The timing couldn't be better. And Jennifer says she'll deliver. Look at that. This is going to be good.
Jim says the regular dill pickle, not the spicy pickle. Okay. And what about
I don't know anything about spicy pickles.
What about bread and butter? I mean, I'm assuming not bread and butter.
I assume that those were halfway between a sweet pickle and a dill pickle.
Yeah. And maybe they would be better with peanut butter. Maybe.
I don't think any of them would be better with peanut butter. But Dale says, I can neither confirm nor deny that my chocolate banana 100% cocoa is an aphrodisiac. Yes, he is neither going to confirm nor deny that. Well, I guess you all just have to find out for yourselves. I did see some 100% chocolate or 100% cacao bars while I was searching for
100%.
dark chocolate with almonds, and I thought, wouldn't that just be a bag of cocoa powder? But apparently they figure out some way to turn that into a bar of chocolate. It makes me suspicious. What do you have to do to chocolate powder, to cocoa powder, in order to turn it into a bar of something?
I guess add the fat solids or something like that, like the actual cocoa
Does it
butter.
still count, though? If you're adding cocoa butter, does it still count as 100% Cacao?
I think so. Probably.
It's a mystery. We will find out and report back to you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you know, if somebody sent us sweets, then it could be terrorist chocolate, you know, the non-fair trade.
Marius says, but my praline is even better.
Ooh.
Not saying it won't kill you, but it'll only be the fat and sugar. Well, there you go. That's great solace in knowing that only the tasty stuff did you in. Actually, I think that's kind of the SAD, the SAD, the standard American diet. It's all tasty, and it will definitely do you in. We've learned so much more. And yet, there's still so many tasty things out there that we eat that we shouldn't.
Yeah, so Dale can neither confirm nor deny that chocolate bonnet, 100% cocoa is an aphrodisiac.
Yes, that's what Dale said. And I'm taking him at his word that he can't confirm or deny it. Actually, I'm suspicious. I think he can confirm or possibly deny it. Francois Prelou makes a decent 100% bar. Extra cocoa butter is the secret.
Yes.
Okay, well, I guess cocoa butter counts as cocoa then if it's considered 100%. Mm-hmm. Or maybe it's just the 100% compared to the amount of milk or sugar. and none of the other ingredients count. We will have to find out. We will investigate, and we will get you an answer to that. Let me just go back to the original answers, because there were a few things online that I was determined. Yeah, I don't believe in determinism, but if I did, I would be determined to read these to you after Michael Newberry said humor. Again, we have to do an episode on that. Andrea said Reese's Peanut Butter Cups and Jelly Bellies or Hershey's with almonds. See, there are people who dig commercial chocolate. It's all good. Petya says, I add a bit of cayenne, black pepper, and turmeric to my coffee. You make those a little bittersweet, give them a little extra kick. She says, rosebuds and lavender, and a bit of maple syrup or raw honey to make it sweet. That doesn't even sound like coffee anymore. That sounds like dessert. Very nice.
Yeah.
And John, the corrector, mentions films. He says the movie The Lives of Others has been called bittersweet. So has the movie La La Land. La La Land is good, but The Lives of Others is great. And it's funny because I keep meaning to see The Lives of Others. It's been recommended time and time again. And maybe one more after that. But we've also discussed La La Land, produced by the same director who did the film that we greatly enjoyed, Whiplash. And we talked about why we thought La La Land was a horrible experience.
I wanted to rip the chairs out of the theater and throw them at the screen. That was my reaction to La La Land. I know, crazy, yes. But I know a lot of people enjoyed that movie.
Yeah, my reaction to that reminds me of the drunk guy in the film The Wedding Singer in describing women.
Wait, what did he say again?
The Adam Sandler character is talking to his friend about women, and the drunk guy at the bar is sitting there drinking, and the other guy looks at him and says, you know what I think about women? You know what women will do to you? And the drunk guy turns over and says, they rip your heart out through your ass. And that's how I feel about that movie, La La Land. That movie rips your heart out through your ass. It's such a well done movie. If you want to go get your heart broken. I've had people explain the film to me. It's not a heartbreaking movie. What happens in the end really was the best for everybody involved.
It was just not a ride I wanted to be on.
It's just not a ride that I want to be on. So yes, John, you're right. We need to see The Lives of Others. It's been recommended so many times. I don't know why we haven't gotten to it. I guess because for the same reason that I own a copy, and it's I think it's even the Blu-ray sitting on my shelf of Life is Beautiful.
Right.
And I haven't cracked it open. I haven't watched it.
We haven't had the heart to actually watch that movie.
And I have this sense that The Lives of Others is going to be
years?
that same kind of, wonderful but sad and heartbreaking film.
Yeah, I don't know.
I guess I need to get over that and just watch the damn thing.
Oh.
Yes. Louise says dancing, humor and laughter, coffee, sweets, cheese, walking without sciatic pain. And a really bad one, cigarettes, which I have been battling to save myself from. Yes, bittersweet pleasures indeed. There's a conversation that goes on from that. You'll find that on my wall. Brian says dark chocolate covered almonds and dark chocolate covered graham crackers. Well, he kind of wins a prize there with the dark chocolate covered almonds because I hadn't said at that point that it was National Bittersweet Chocolate with Almonds Day. But he kind of presaged or guessed that. Somebody named Amy says Bernie Bott's every flavored jelly beans. Well, that's bittersweet, all right. Because half the time they're delicious.
If you want that lovely, bitter, sugary earwax flavor, it's the best.
And you wonder when you get into a package of Bernie Bott's every flavor beans,
vomit is
how
delicious.
do they know what these things taste like in order to... you can imagine somebody tasting a little bit of all of these things to figure out how to make the flavor, but even how do we, when we taste it, know that that's an accurate... I know it has a lot to do with you imagine the flavor, you imagine it from the...
It has a cheat sheet, so...
No. I don't mean how do you guess. Oh. I mean that when you eat the grass-flavored jelly bean...
I like those, actually.
How do you know that's what grass tastes like?
Because it's kind of what it smells like.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's with a lot of them, it really is just kind of what it smells like.
When I was a really little girl, I would eat grass. I would just pick it up
That's true.
chomp
We
on
played
it.
baseball when
And
I
I'd be
was
like,
younger, and so you find
"This
out
is
what
what-
grass tastes like.
This is what cows eat, and this is now I can empathize with cows.
You wanted
a
to
bit more.
commune with the cows?
Yeah, it's grass.
Chew the cud there?
Oh boy.
You know, there's an objectivist who goes by the name Cudwee. I wonder if that has something to do with where he got that
I don't know,
name from.
But Louise actually, and on Facebook here, she says her best friend invented a sandwich with peanut butter, cheese slices, and bread, and butter pickles. We
Peanut
thought it
butter,
was
cheese,
so
and
good.
pickles.
Yeah, actually,
Peanut butter, cheese,
that's
pickles.
not so bad. I guess it depends on, well, bread and butter pickles, in other words. So they're the sweet kind.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many good sandwiches that would have cheese and pickles. Obviously a cheeseburger, but others too that I can see that with peanut butter, sure.
Jim
Kinda.
says about a drunken episode, will you be as think as you drunk you've ever been, Amy?
Yeah.
Will you do srunk that you get your merge wixed?
I'm not as thick as you drunk I am.
And also from Louise, try scrambled eggs, cheese, and strawberry jam sandwich. Now I can see that.
It was pretty good until you get to the word sandwich. But I can see it. I can totally see it.
Depends on how much strawberry jam you put on it.
Yes, yes. And it's funny too because I was going to prepare notes to have a deep and philosophical conversation about the concept of
Yeah.
guilty pleasures. In fact, Jim said in the comments earlier, bittersweet pleasure? I'd have to think about it. It's kind of new to me. Will that be the subject of today's 5 minutes? And to be honest, as I intimated in the show announcement, I really didn't have time to put together a deep and philosophical conversation about guilty pleasures. But I will say this. We talked before about unconditional love. And we brought this up a couple of times. Because so many people use unconditional love as a license, as a get-out-of-jail-free card. This notion of what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Basically a way to get away with stuff.
Yeah.
And love can't be unconditional because if love is a response to values, those are the conditions of love. Love has to have reasons. There has to be a reason to love someone. And the point we made in our episode on unconditional love is that when you have unconditional love, it doesn't mean causeless. It merely means that the conditions of love have been satisfied and in such a way that they transcend the experiences of any given moment or day or week or year. When you have unconditional love for your child, it's not just automatic and built in and instinctual and evolutionary psychology, none of that nonsense. But every reason that you love your child is already there. It's already happened. It's in those experiences that you've had from birth to this age of 2 or 4 or 10 or 20 years old. And no matter what that kid does, short of becoming an axe murderer and completely losing their mind, you're going to love that person. I have this experience with my daughter. There's nothing she can do. She could try to get me to stop loving her, and it's not going to happen. Same thing in a marriage. You reach the point where small things have no impact. And not just because you say, oh, well, I love them more than that thing they did. That actual love is bigger than any of those things that can happen. When we talk about unconditional love and we mean it as a good thing, you don't need to get your hackles up and say, oh, that's an invalid concept, because it's not. What we really mean is all of the conditions have been satisfied. So this too with guilty pleasures, when we talked about what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Yes, that's a horrible idea. Mostly because if it was good, you want to remember it. You want to bring it with you. You want that to be part of your life. You want your values to be interwoven. But the kernel of truth, the idea that people have when they say, well, I want to take a vacation from my usual responsibilities, and I want this to be separate. When they do something really outrageous, go to a nude beach or spend a weekend in a casino. You go gambling and you budget ahead of time. I can afford to lose $500. I'm going to spend $100 a day. And essentially it's what you would spend on entertainment. It's what you would spend on front row seats to the opera. It's what you would spend on front row seats to go see the band Yes. Actually, we spent, I think, $800 the last time we did that. And that didn't last half as long as a weekend in the casino. The point is that guilty pleasures needn't be literally causes of guilt. They can be, and I think good people, the better people, understand this. What they really mean is, if I were to do these things every day, or if I were to do them out of context, they would be guilty. They would be a reason to feel guilty. They would be a reason to be concerned. They would be a loss. They would be a sacrifice. But these guilty pleasures, which would be guilty in some other context, have been bought and paid for. I've earned them. I've created the wealth, or I've created the safety, the opportunity, like, a big night on the town, go out drinking, except you've already arranged a hotel room and an Uber. You've bought and paid for that. Guilty pleasures in the best sense, that's what we mean. And it can be something as simple as, I've worked hard all week, I've done all my household responsibilities. Now I'm going to binge watch a television show and eat popcorn until 2 a.m.
Yay!
And I've bought and paid for that. It's not being done blindly or irrationally or out of context. Everything has been set up and paid for in advance, and I don't have to get up in the next morning until 10 a.m. and it's all good. So, in the best sense. And why do I say that? If we're rational, especially the objectivists who are listening, you know who you are. If we're rational, why would we use that expression, guilty pleasure? Why would we not just say those are rationally bought for and paid pleasures? And the answer is, if we're rational, we don't need to be that obtuse, because we know good people who use that expression and use it in just that playful way. It's not a dangerous expression that's going to cause us to be irrational, not if we're good people.
Yeah, I like to go out on the weekend and, shoot up some heroin and do some meth.
Well, if you can afford it, man. See, it's not subjectivism. That would be subjectivism. That
Then I'd like to go out in the
be
middle of the
bad.
freeway and just take a walk.
Yeah, that's a little different.
That's another wedding singer line. Yeah, have a few drinks and drive home.
Yep. So, folks, as I warned you, that's about all I got for you today.
Yeah.
I didn't quite get to what are we listening to, although I mentioned it briefly. So let's do this real quick and then we'll wrap up. What we're listening to this week. The big thing that I listened to this week, my own friggin' show. Because on Thursday, I did an interview with Gene Moroney. Sadly, because of interesting schedule, the week we've had, we could spend an hour telling you about that. But the week we've had was interesting. For reasons, Amy couldn't be on it, so it's just me. So it's only half as good as it could have been, but it was still pretty damn good. An interview with Gene Moroney. Link is in the show notes. On November 4th, the Life on Earth show. The other thing we're listening to this week that we haven't listened to yet, because it just happened just before this show, is Yaron's Rules for Life. He did his Yaron's Rules number 11, Be Curious, about which I immediately made a dirty joke. But no, it's actually be curious about things, about life. And we will listen to that right after this show. But one more reminder.
What?
I see 2 reminders, and I'm wondering why I've got one more reminder.
2 more reminders.
Well, my first reminder of 2 is, it's when things are at their worst that you've got to be at your best.
Right.
I guess I was going to talk about some of the challenges that led to this episode being so lighthearted and a little bit silly. But yes, it's when things are at their worst that you've got to be at your best. We had a challenging day.
If you need to lock yourself in the bathroom while taking a shower and doing primal scream therapy, then you can do that.
Not that we know anybody intimately who's done that recently. But we did a whole episode called Challenging Times, and this day really took me back to that.
Yes. Yes, it was one of those interesting take me back to childhood and kind of thing.
It made me think of the song by Eric Burdon and the Animals called Don't Bring Me Down. It's also redone by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Wait,
you might know that version.
No, okay, I'm thinking of ELO.
You're thinking of a different song, and I knew you would because you like that song. But no, the Don't Bring Me Down I'm thinking of was actually written by Carole King.
Oh, how does it go? You're going to have to say and sing it.
It makes me feel like giving up because my best just ain't good enough. And if you ever have that feeling that your best just isn't good enough, no matter what you do, your very best isn't good enough, realize that that moment passes and you will get over that thing.
Yes.
So as we tell you, it's when things are at their worst that you've got to be at your best. But sometimes your best isn't good enough. Let it go. You will get past it. Especially if you're with somebody who's very important to you, because as in unconditional love, you will transcend that moment. And that may be the only thing that gives you strength to get through, but it is enough to give you strength to get through.
Scott says, get to the chorus.
Get to the chorus. Now I know, don't bring me down. Oh, darling, 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 darling. I was like the repeated darlings.
I think I can kind of remember that, but John over on Facebook says, I'm at my best when things are worst. That's often why I make things worse, so I can be at my best more often.
What a strategy. Who would have thought?
I like that.
It's a no-fail strategy. By failing and then addressing your failures. How are you going to earn pride unless you best many, many challenges? And if there aren't enough challenges, like Doritos, we'll make more. That's right. And finally, one more thing before I get to the very end. So I guess this isn't one more thing, because there's also the very end. It's that time of year. Thanksgiving and Christmas are coming up. And we just got the announcement from Aurum Naturals.
Oh, yes.
AURUM, Aurum Naturals. And our good friend at Aurum Naturals says they are starting their holiday sale. So a link will be in the show notes. You can get 15% off, which is good because these are the best candles. We're talking about beeswax candles. These are the best candles in the world. And that means two things. They burn like really long. A large candle will burn for days. And they burn clean. The flame is real steady. It's not flickering all over. It's a steady flame, burns clean, only a slight smell of beeswax, but other than that, they just burn clean.
Yeah, they do.
And the other thing that it means, is they're kind of expensive. They're a little pricey.
But they're so worth it.
So if you can get 15% off, which you can right now, that's why we're going to share that information with you. Link is in the show notes. Aurum Naturals, aurum-naturals.com.
Put it in the chat.
Amy hooked you up.
Yeah,
okay.
I hook you up.
Very cool. And finally, thank you for being with us. Within 5 to 10 minutes after the end of the show, you know what we're going to do. We're going to post links, show notes, links to the Gene Moroney interview, the Madam Curie, and God forbid FDR getting reelected and serving 4 terms. All those links will be in the show notes within 5 to 10 minutes of the end of the show. If you have any comments, questions that you haven't already entered in the chat, especially suggestions for future episodes, although there were a couple in the chat today, I'm going to skim through and write those down like drunken 5 minutes. You can put those into the 5 Minutes with Facebook, 5 Minutes with Facebook, 5 Minutes with Robert Nasir Facebook group, and tell us, what do you want us to address, to talk about, to blah, 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 so you can get in the chat and tell us what you think about it. Do that in the group. We have a new supporter this week. Thank you, Royce, for coming on board. Oh, I used a name. That's right. I keep meaning to use names. I've got to get permission from everybody to use their names and tell you, because I thank everybody, but I always do it generically, and I want to do it in person, unless people have privacy concerns. Thank you to our patrons. Thank you to our new patron. Thank you to our long-term patrons. Thank you to our patrons for keeping the lights on here. And there's like lights all over the studio. You can probably see the reflections in my eyeglasses, although you can't see them in Amy's eyeglasses. I don't know if you can see the reflections in her contact lenses. But thank you to all of the patrons of the show. Thank you for supporting us. You do keep the lights on and the heat running. We got a new furnace in Studio Nasir this week.
Yeah.
Still smells a little bit of machine oils. Thanks again for that. And finally, thank you everybody for joining us today. This was great. As I mentioned before, challenging times, challenging day. We did a whole episode on the autumn blues. We do that every year because it's a tough time of year. We went to start the show 6 o'clock. You would think 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and like we're looking out the window, it's dark. What the heck? Winter isn't here yet, but you know, that DST thing. Challenging times, difficult times, and I get to talk to you guys every week, and you get to chat with us. Thank you so much for that. We're glad that you are here, and as always, we wish you every success. We wish you rational thought and extraordinary values. We wish you passion, and as always, bottom of my heart, top of my heart, it really should be the top of my heart, from the best and deepest and juiciest parts of my heart and Amy's. Oh, and it's all true. We wish you love.